Financial hardships can befall anyone. Some resolve their difficulties swiftly, while others may struggle for years. However, how one chooses to overcome these challenges is crucial. While some work diligently, earning money through honest labor, others resort to crime for quick gains. There's also a third group willing to partake in the creation of controversial yet in-demand adult content, naturally for a substantial reward. Engaging in this line of work isn't illegal, but actors, often actresses in this genre, face severe societal judgment and criticism. Nonetheless, the allure of rapid wealth and the pursuit of dubious fame can override moral principles. Moreover, many now operate remotely, setting up studios at home and conducting live broadcasts. Yet, one must not overlook the potential severe emotional harm to the actresses, leading to real tragedies. The case of Carol Maltesi, a young mother and actress in adult films, is a stark example of what striving for fame and money in this industry can lead to. She didn't view her work as immoral. She was merely striving for financial independence, planning to retire once she had enough to support herself and her young son. However, she was never able to leave the industry, and tragically, her body, once admired by thousands of fans, was eventually found dismembered on a rocky cliff beside a road. Childhood and early years of Carol Maltesi. Carol Nicole Maltesi was born on September 19, 1995, in a small Italian province, the only child of her parents, Fabio and Josephine. She had Italian maternal roots and Dutch paternal heritage. When she was just 4 years old, her parents decided to divorce, and she stayed with her mother. Subsequently, her father moved back to his homeland, the Netherlands, remarried, and had more children. Josephine chose to remain in Italy, raising her daughter alone as her former husband offered little support. They lived in a small community called Sesto Calenda in the province of Varese. The mother worked multiple jobs simultaneously to provide her daughter with everything necessary, a good education, and the opportunity for a better life. Carol grew up to be a beautiful, kind, and sociable girl with many friends and an easy rapport with others. As a schoolgirl, she actively participated in sports, particularly horseback riding, and regularly attended a dance studio. Maltesi was fluent in 3 languages, loved traveling across Europe, read extensively, and could engage in conversation on almost any subject. As a teenager, she became a true beauty with a slim, feminine figure, already having many admirers and suitors, and she loved being the center of attention. After finishing school, she entered a technical university to study industrial design, arts, and fashion, where she soon became one of the top students in her class. Unexpected pregnancy. During her freshman year, Carol developed a romantic relationship with a young man a year her senior who was studying at the Faculty of Architecture and Design. In the fall of 2020, when Carol was 20 years old, she discovered she was pregnant. This news was a complete surprise to both her and the child's father. They were both students and utterly unprepared for such a development. Nevertheless, Carol firmly decided to keep the baby. In 2016, the young couple had a son together, and their lives changed drastically. Both had to leave school because they lacked the funds to support themselves and their newborn. The new parents decided to move to Verona, where there were more opportunities to earn a living and provide for their family. Carol got a job as a sales consultant in a large cosmetics and perfume retail chain shortly after her son turned 1, while her boyfriend worked on various projects from home, also taking care of their son. New love. In the middle of 2019, Carol unexpectedly fell for another man named Angelo, with whom she began a passionate affair. The couple secretly met for about 6 months, renting hotel rooms, messaging each other at night, and striving to spend every free moment together. However, just before the new year, the father of Carol's child found out about her relationship and decided to part ways with his unfaithful partner. Maltesi felt this was for the best since she was planning to leave for her new boyfriend anyway. But then a problem arose. Angelo lived in his parents' house, and Carol couldn't move there with her child from a previous relationship. Therefore, they decided to rent a place together, But at that time, the coronavirus pandemic swept the world, leaving the young couple jobless and unable to afford their own apartment. Carol eventually moved into the home of her new boyfriend's parents and decided to temporarily leave her 4-year-old son with his biological father until the situation stabilized and she could bring him to live with her. Meanwhile, the situation worsened. A widespread self-isolation regime was declared, everyone was confined to their homes, and Carol faced significant financial difficulties. During this challenging period, Angelo and his parents supported Carol as best they could. She effectively lived at their expense in their home, unable to contribute financially to her young son. Moreover, Carol's mother was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which was progressing, and the woman needed costly therapy. Unexpected source of income. Amidst the lockdown, Maltesi frantically considered how to earn money from home to support her son and ill mother. She decided to try earning through social networks and her own YouTube channel, sharing about life in isolation and the challenges she faced. However, this content didn't attract much interest, but her striking appearance as a novice blogger drew attention, earning her compliments and even some inappropriate proposals in the comments. A subscriber suggested she create an account on the platform OnlyFans, noting that her striking looks would be highly appreciated there, and she could become a star and earn quickly. Carol took this advice and registered on the service under the pseudonym Charlotte Angel. She began creating revealing content, posting her intimate photos and short videos. Quickly, she amassed a significant following willing to pay for such content. Carol soon began earning well, but kept from her boyfriend and close relatives how she was making money and what she was being paid for. Over time, her content became more explicit and sophisticated as she strove to please her fans, and she herself enjoyed this line of work. Carol hid the details of her job as long as she could, but about 6 months later, someone she knew stumbled upon her account. Rumors spread, and soon everyone knew how she was making a living. She wasn't too upset, and even tried to justify it by claiming that her work was also a form of art that brought in a decent income and fully satisfied her. However, the conservative Italians were not ready to accept this, so friends and close ones gradually turned away from Carol, believing she was engaged in something immoral, and associating with her might tarnish their reputations. Carol herself regarded this attitude towards her work as prejudice, and was confident that she would achieve success, becoming wealthy and famous. Adult film stars soon, the beauty became so popular that adult film studios took serious interest. Several directors approached the sultry Italian with offers to star in their films, and she readily agreed. She participated in group shoots and public performances. Word of her activities quickly reached Angelo, who naively thought his girlfriend was working remotely as a designer, but sometimes went to the office. He was shocked and at a loss for what to do next, as he hadn't planned on breaking up with her. However, when his parents learned about the situation, they insisted he break up with this fallen woman immediately, lest she disgrace their entire family. By then, Carol had enough money to rent her own place. Her OnlyFans account was extremely popular. She regularly received offers from directors, and her fees kept increasing. In interviews, she claimed she didn't plan to do this all her life, and intended to eventually finish her education and try her hand as a designer or modeler. But for now, she truly enjoyed what she was doing and was well compensated for it. Nonetheless, Carol often spoke about the constant moral pressure from those around her, their judgments and attempts to shame her, causing certain psychological traumas. She called her work art and advocated for every woman's right to choose her profession without fear of judgment. Attempt to move on and a new dominant lover. At 25, Maltesi moved to a small town called Rescaldina in the Milan province, deciding to start over. She planned to leave her career in the adult industry behind and got a job as a sales consultant at a perfume boutique. It seemed she had completely changed her life, but this was only temporary. A few months later, she met a 42-year-old local banker named Davide Fontana, who was passionate about photography, specializing in nude styles. They met online where he was seeking a model for his explicit projects. Carol responded to his offer, and during their first meeting, the pair felt an irresistible mutual attraction. Fontana had been officially married for many years, but this did not stop him from starting a relationship with the young beauty. They began dating, organizing explicit photo sessions that invariably ended in intimacy. Soon, he learned about Carol's past activities and convinced her to return to filmmaking, noting her real talent. David had mixed feelings for her. He loved her, wanted to possess her, but also liked seeing his young lover in adult films. In March 2021, the banker divorced his wife and started living with Carol, realizing their most explicit and sinful fantasies. He helped her create content that was incredibly popular on OnlyFans, but he took a cut of the profits from their joint work. Carol soon became so successful and popular that foreign directors and studios began offering her lucrative contracts for shoots. Fontana was quite jealous in life, reacting sharply when others paid attention to his girlfriend on the street or tried flirting with her, but there were no restrictions or limits when it came to filming. He treated it as a regular job, which the actress was completely comfortable with. A few months later, Angelo called her, confessing he missed her greatly. He proposed they get back together, noting he was ready to accept her line of work and wouldn't interfere or restrict her. Carol was touched, but admitted she already had another man. Nevertheless, they continued to communicate. But when Davide learned about this, he became enraged, threatened Angelo, and even set his car on fire. Angelo immediately reported to the police about the threats to his life and property damage. The authorities issued a restraining order preventing Fontana from approaching Angelo, but no evidence of the banker's involvement in the arson was found, so he did not compensate for the damage. Workplace romance. The in-demand actress often flew overseas for shoots, and her subscribers numbered over 30,000. Carol was saving up to buy her own home to take her son with her and planned to leave the adult film industry, find another job, and focus on raising her son. Meanwhile, she began making custom videos, which proved to be a lucrative business. Fans sent her their own scripts of what they wanted to see, and she brought their fantasies to life for a handsome fee. Fontana continued to help her with filming and editing. They still lived together and shared the profits. In September 2021, Maltesi met an actor named Salvatore Galdo on a film set, who was her partner in several explicit films. However, real feelings ignited between them, and they started a romantic relationship. They dated secretly, fearing what Davide might do to her new lover. She waited for the right moment to tell the banker everything and break up with him for good. A few months later, Galdo gave her an engagement ring, asking her to become his lawful wife, and she joyfully accepted. By the end of the year, Carol had saved enough money to buy her own home. She planned to take her son, marry Salvatore, and finally decided to talk to Fontana. The man took the news surprisingly calmly. It seemed he understood everything and was ready to let her go to her new lover, but they still had several unfinished projects for which they had already been paid. They agreed to complete the work and then peacefully part ways forever. The mysterious disappearance of Carol. At the beginning of 2022, Maltesi unexpectedly vanished. She stopped appearing in films, ceased online streams, didn't communicate with colleagues, and accepted no new offers from directors. Many knew she had planned to leave the industry, so they assumed she had done just that. However, even her friends and fiancé, who were very concerned, couldn't reach her. Carol didn't answer calls but responded to messages and messengers, claiming she was fine, had decided to radically change her life, and needed time for herself. To her fiancé Salvatore, she wrote that she had contracted COVID-19, was self-isolating, and they couldn't see each other for a while. Apparently, this explanation satisfied him, as he did not raise the alarm either a month or 3 months later. On social media, new posts occasionally appeared on her account, but she hardly interacted with anyone, limiting herself to terse and brief responses. According to the latest photos on Carol's page, she had gone on a seaside vacation without telling anyone. Parts of an unidentified body in bags. On March 20th, 2022, A passerby was walking along the outskirts of the Italian community of Borno, on a road along a rocky cliff. He was suddenly drawn to large black trash bags lying on the slope near a body of water. The area was scenic and deserted, so the man was annoyed that someone had decided to dump trash there. He went down to the nearest bag and tried to lift it, but it was quite heavy. The real horror struck him when he saw human fingers poking through the torn polyethylene. The man immediately reported his gruesome discovery to the police, and the responding officers found 4 bags containing a human body divided into 18 parts. The remains were so disfigured that identification seemed impossible. Forensic experts determined it was a young woman who had died at least 2 months earlier, but they could not establish the cause of death. The body had been in a freezer before someone dumped it off the cliff. Presumably, the criminal drove here, simply throwing the bags down, hoping that in such a secluded place they would remain undiscovered for a long time. The bags tore on impact, causing some of the contents to spill out. Clearly, the criminal had done everything possible to keep the remains unidentified for as long as possible by removing all distinctive features. Pieces of skin were cut off in areas likely covered by tattoos. However, parts of these tattoos remained but were severely damaged. The skin in those areas had been burned with hot objects, cut, and doused with acid. Nevertheless, by piecing together bits of the tattoos and comparing them with a database of missing persons, the police concluded that no one was looking for a woman with such features. This was odd, leading to the speculation that the deceased was not local. This remained a belief until a news report about the body was broadcasted, asking anyone who might recognize the described features to come forward. Soon after, a woman who appeared in adult films came to the station and said that based on the description of the tattoos, she recognized her colleague, who had disappeared in early January. The actress mentioned that the deceased worked under the pseudonym Charlotte, but she did not know her real name. This information proved crucial, as law enforcement now knew what the girl looked like in life, and they quickly established her identity and real name. The peculiar fiancé. As soon as the deceased's name became known, it was revealed that she had gotten engaged to her colleague, Salvatore Galdo, shortly before her disappearance, who, curiously, had not reported his fiancée missing. This led to the first suspect being found and detained. However, the man was clearly upset by the news of his beloved's demise and puzzled as to why he himself was under suspicion. According to Salvatore, he had kept in touch with the woman through messengers and social media, providing their correspondence as proof. Thus, he had no idea that Carol had long been deceased. He claimed that his beloved had contracted COVID-19 earlier in the year and was self-isolating, which is why he hadn't visited her. When police asked why he hadn't called her to check if she needed help, he said he had spoken by phone with Fontana, who was nearby, and had promised to look after the woman. The fiancé's story was disjointed and unconvincing, but his testimony brought a second suspect into the case, who needed to be detained and interrogated. However, there was no need to search for David, as he himself turned up at the station the next day to report a person missing. The horrifying truth. Fontana, obviously, did not expect the body to be found so quickly, so he hadn't been following the news. When he learned that Carol had been found and identified, he became alarmed but still believed the detectives would not track him down. However, when the police arrested Salvatore, the man realized this person would lead law enforcement right to him, as they had communicated by phone, and he had concocted a story about COVID-19, promising to take care of his fiancée. David was visibly nervous, consistently contradicting his own statements, and the story he told was highly implausible. According to him, he and Carol had been very close, but they hadn't seen each other for several months, and she had stopped making contact. He couldn't explain why he had only contacted the police now. Under pressure, Fontana eventually began to testify, confessing that he had accidentally ended Carol's life. He claimed that in early January they were filming extreme content for a client who had paid a large sum. The script required David to bind the woman, tape her mouth shut, put a bag over her head, and then brutally beat, torture, and torment her using various tools, including a hammer. They had agreed that he would not hit her with full force, but she would act as if she were in severe pain. However, during the process, he supposedly went too far, misjudged a hammer blow, and fractured her skull. When he removed the bag from her head, he saw she was in death throes, but instead of calling for medical help or trying to assist her, he, out of mercy, decided to end her suffering with a final hammer blow. Then, the criminal, allegedly in a panic, dismembered the body but, unsure what to do next, simply stored the remains in his freezer for over 2 months before deciding to dispose of them, reconstructing the actual events. The investigation revealed that the mysterious, perverse client was Davide himself, who had contacted the woman using a fake account. Evidently, he didn't want to let her go and devised a sophisticated plan of revenge because she had decided to leave him. Additionally, during the torture session, the man extracted the password to her phone, which supposedly was also part of the script and a client's whim. On January 11th, around 9 in the evening, Fontana ended the woman's life by fatally striking her with a hammer. The next day, he purchased a large freezer using the deceased's credit card, as well as a saw and an axe from a hardware store, which he used to dismember the body. He made every effort to disfigure the body to prevent identification. He removed the tattoos along with the skin, and what remained of them, he tried to burn, shred, and literally erase. After that, David placed the body parts in bags and stored them in the freezer, where they remained for over 2 months. During this time, the criminal communicated with the victim's relatives and friends on her behalf, and also managed her social media, creating the illusion that Carol was alive. By the end of March, the criminal apparently thought the danger had passed and decided to dispose of the body by dumping it off a cliff in a deserted area. He hoped that the remains would either never be found, or, by the time they would have decomposed to the point of being unidentifiable. However, Davide was mistaken, and the body was discovered just 2 days later, with authorities tracking him down within a week. Trial and verdict. The most bewildering and incomprehensible aspect of this case was that nearly 3 months after the girl's disappearance, none of her relatives or friends had reported her missing. They were all satisfied with the responses in messengers and posts on social media. Even the fiancé, who thought Carol was ill, was not alarmed by the fact that she didn't answer calls and never tried to visit her. If someone had raised the alarm, the murderer would have been tracked immediately via the signal from the victim's phone, which had been on and in David's possession all this time. At the trial, Fontana expressed remorse and swore that he loved Maltesi and had taken her life unintentionally. He also claimed that he had planned to end his own life after her death, unable to cope with the grief. Naturally, such a statement sounded foolish, and nobody believed him, but the defense insisted that the incident was indeed an unintentional act of violence, despite the fact that the defendant himself had commissioned the recording of the brutal video. On June 12, 2023, the court found Fontana guilty of manslaughter and sentenced him to 30 years in prison. He was also ordered to pay compensation to the deceased's son in the amount of 200,000 euros, as well as 100,000 to Carol's mother and 50,000 euros to the father of her child. Surprisingly, the manner of assassinating was not deemed cruel, and the dismemberment of the body was not considered an aggravating factor, so the criminal could potentially be eligible for parole. I'm tired. I don't understand how long this can go on, and what am I waiting for? I really loved him. I loved him with all my heart. Yes, I was too young a girl then, when we got married, when we stood in front of the altar and his parents be damned, when I swore before God that I would love him forever and only heaven would part us. Why can't I take it back? Do I have to torture myself day in and day out just because I made those promises? I haven't loved him for a long time. Just like he doesn't love me. He only loves himself, his parents, and our children. But who will love me? In these moments of despondency, I feel that even God, has turned his back on me. How else could he have given me to this family for whom I am nothing, who only remember I exist when they need something? Summer, clean this up. Summer, take out the trash. Summer, damn it. Can you stop stomping your feet so loud? I'm sick of it. I have to tell Will everything. Take the kids and get out of this house. But who's gonna let me go, especially with the kids? Will's dad won't even let me leave the house. I hope I stay alive at least. This entry was made by Summer Inman in her personal diary, which she kept hidden from her husband and his parents. This diary, the one place where she could express her thoughts and not be afraid of being judged or even punished. 1983, Logan, Ohio. In a small American town of only 40,000 people, a new evangelical church called Tabernacle of Faith opens, which none of the residents had ever heard of before. The founder of the church, David Oyedepo, traveled to the town from Nigeria and told the congregation that he had an 18-hour meeting with God, during which the Almighty told him that it was time to free the world from the oppression of the devil through preaching and prayer. David Oyedepo was an extremely charismatic preacher, and that is why the Tabernacle of Faith Church became very popular in Logan. It was at this church that Bill and Sandra Inman met. Bill was already 18 years old at that time and played musical instruments at the church on Sundays. Sandra also attended church with her parents. Sandra recalls that the young musician parishioner very much liked her parents, and they did not hesitate to allow the young people to play a wedding. A year later, Bill and Sandra have a son, Will. According to family traditions, Will was born with his parents, went to church, and when he was 17 years old, then just like his father, met in the Tabernacle of Faith with a very young 15-year-old summer cook. Only with marriage young people were not in a hurry and waited until Summer was 18 years old. In 2004, after their wedding, Will's parents insisted that the young people lived with them. Summer did not like this idea, of course, but her husband was very dependent on his father and could not cross him, so she left her parents' house and moved into the house of the Inman family. That same year, another turning point in the Inman family's life occurs. Bill creates his own flock and remodels the family garage, formerly used as a workshop, into a self-proclaimed church. From Summer Inman's diary, Will's father has changed a lot. I literally don't recognize him. Tonight at family dinner, he told us that he hears the voice of God in his dreams and that he wants to share this revelation with others for their own good. Will himself seems to realize that his father is becoming a religious fanatic. I've seen him roll his eyes, but what can he say against it? Yes, indeed, to some, like Summer, Bill Inman's idea may seem delusional, but locals came to his garage in droves, prayed, listened intently to their leaders' speeches, and even made donations. In 2005, Will and Summer had their firstborn son. They named him Alex. But right after the baby was born, everyone realized that their family was in huge financial trouble. The women were forbidden to work anywhere. They were obliged to do only household chores, and 4 adults and 1 infant cannot live only on donations from parishioners and on Will's rare part-time jobs. At a family council, Bill said they were moving to Florida. In Florida, Bill and Will did construction work while the women still stayed home and raised baby Alex. From Summer's diary, not much changed with the move to Florida. All day Will and his father disappear at work, and Sandra and I stay home with Alex all day and night. When is Will going to grow up and be on his own? I don't think I can wait for that. Having come to the conclusion that in Florida a lot of money cannot earn, Bill Inman decides to return to his native state, but because of non-payment of taxes, their house in Logan was taken away, and the court ruled a ban on its subsequent redemption, so they moved to a rented house in the countryside Vinton, which is not far from Logan. There, Summer also gives birth to 2 daughters, Kelly and Alana. From Summer's diary, we still don't have any money. Will wants me to have 12 children for him. I sometimes laugh in his face, which he takes offense to, and sometimes even stops talking to me. In 2010, Bill Inman, now officially the leader of Tabernacle of Faith Church, and together with his wife Sandra, they register a non-profit organization called Mercy Ranch. A bright idea is born in his head to build on behalf of the church a home for orphans, widows, and the homeless. But naturally, there was no money for the idea. However, the new leader found a way out of this situation. He invented a lottery, according to which the winner will win $200,000 and the remaining 99 people will receive no less valuable prizes. The remaining funds would be used to build the house Bill dreamed of. Television and radio ads were run, and Bill himself even went door to door at first, asking residents to participate in the charity lottery. The result was stunning. Bill Inman managed to raise $1 million. The grand prize drawing was scheduled for September 2010, but as you may have guessed, no drawing took place in September, just like it didn't take place in October or November. Bill Inman simply defrauded the people who trusted him, and he had no plans to return the money to anyone either. It is during this period that Will's father hires Adam Peters to take care of the landscaping on their property, as well as other household chores. Adam sees Summer all the time and begins to feel sympathy for her. What he doesn't realize is that Summer and Will are having a crisis in their relationship. Nevertheless, he does not give up and gives the young woman signs of attention. After a while, Summer filed for divorce. She took the children and went to her parents. There she got a job for the first time in her life, a cleaner at the bank. Unfortunately, because of her early marriage and constant confinement in the Inman home, she had no education and no work experience other than raising children, so Summer didn't expect to get a better paying job. But deep down she was glad even that, because for the first time in many years she felt independent, and for the first time nobody told her anything. Despite her resentment toward Will, she didn't mind her father seeing the children as much as he saw fit. The children, in her opinion, needed their father as much as they needed their grandparents. Indeed, Bill Inman, despite his tyrannical character, treated the children very affectionately and caring. To deny this was foolish. One day in December 2010, a bailiff came to the Inman house and ordered the family to leave the house for non-payment of rent. Summer found out about it, and so she went over to the house to pick up all the things she hadn't had time to pack when she moved in with her parents. It was scary to show up at a house where she was now considered a traitor, so she called Adam to help her with the packing. When the Inman family saw that Summer had arrived with her new lover, they wouldn't let anyone in the house. They hurled all sorts of curses at them and promised that all of Summer's belongings in the house would be burned in the backyard. Even the police couldn't help with the conflict, as Will attacked and even beat up a policeman who arrived, while Adam, who was shocked by what he had seen, shouted that he would find him and kill him. That same day, Summer decided to file a report against her husband. In it, she pointed out that Will had never been the same, that it wasn't until after the wedding that he became in complete control of her. Her calls, texts, emails, he even controlled her lunchtime and how much she needed to eat, how much time to spend in the shower, and how much time to be outdoors. Periodically, he even took her phone away from her, and Summer could be out of touch for a week, even with her own parents. He also admitted to her that he wanted to find a second wife, and without hiding from Summer, he registered on dating sites, where he posted intimate photos of himself and openly corresponded with other women. In her diary, Summer often wrote that she wanted to divorce Will, but was afraid. This fear was understandable. Will had warned her numerous times that if she divorced him, he would shoot her. The police took a statement from a frightened Summer, who had harbored the fear for so many years, and came to the Inman home again. When questioned, Will answered yes. He took his wife's phone away from her, but only so she wouldn't talk to her lover 24 hours a day. Yes, he watched her diet, but only because he cared about her health. His answers didn't seem credible to the police, and they forbade him to go near his ex-wife, and he also received a fine and probation for this behavior. The Inman family could not ignore such, as it seemed to them, abuse of their son, and they in turn wrote a response, but already on Adam Peters. In their statement, they pointed out that when he worked in their house, he showed an unhealthy interest in Summer's young children, and that the subsequent presence of children in his company could end badly. Their fictions, of course, were not confirmed. After that, the worst thing in Summer's life happened. Close to midnight, March 22nd, 2011, Summer was finishing her work at the bank, which is in the heart of Logan. The branch itself had closed by then, and all she had to do was clean up her workspace, dusting and taking out the trash. She'd texted Adam to tell him that she didn't have much time left and that she'd be home soon. It was already 12 o'clock at night. Summer was late, although she had never been late before. Adam was beginning to get seriously worried. There was no telling what this Will might be up to. Peters decided to meet Summer. By then, the doors to the ward were locked. No lights were on in the windows, which meant Summer wasn't there. Adam walked around the building but didn't see anyone, so he went to the dumpsters where the young woman was hauling the trash bags that had accumulated all day. She wasn't there either, but near the bins he found Summer's things, her purse, her cell phone, and her red jacket, which was lying in the grass, a little farther away from her things. There was no time to hesitate. He immediately dialed the phone number of the police. The police arrived and did a search of the belongings, then knocked on the bank and interviewed the security guards, to which they said that Summer had gone home over an hour ago, and they hadn't seen her again. At the glow of the police car's lights, 3 people approached. As it turned out, they were witnesses to the kidnapping. The 2 women were out for an evening jog, and although it was already dark, they saw a white Ford drive up to the bank cleaner's house. 2 men in black masks get out and push the screaming woman into the back seat. At the woman's screams, another eyewitness ran up to the car and tried to save her, but the blonde woman behind the wheel sprayed him in the face with a gas can, and the guy fell down, and the car with the kidnappers drove away. The women were without phones, so they immediately ran to the nearest police station, where they interrupted each other very emotionally and tried to recount what they had seen. The police officers on duty only laughed at their story, naively believing that the night runners had made it all up. Who would think of kidnapping a bank cleaner with garbage bags in her hands? But as it turned out, the story was now pure truth. And because of the slowness of the cops, it was now impossible to find Summer on a hot lead. Like I said before, Logan is a small town. That's why the news of Summer's abduction by 3 unidentified men spread through the town overnight. By morning, proactive citizens had organized into groups to search for the missing woman. They scoured parks, vacant lots, abandoned warehouses, but Summer was nowhere to be found. A week before she disappeared, Will Inman tried to contest his child support payments. According to the court order, he was supposed to pay $150 for each child, but since his monthly salary was only $500, he asked that the payment be reduced to $150 for the 3 children in total. Will also asked for full custody of his children, but this was denied by the court. Since Summer was not in contact with anyone because of her long reclusive life, the police suspicions fell only on the Inman family. They were found in the house of Bill's mother in a neighboring town. All 3 said that they had not heard anything about the disappearance, and on the day of the kidnapping, they were in Cleveland, where they wanted to find a new home. At that time, a GPS receiver was taken from the car. During the inspection, it was determined that it had been turned off during the period of Summer's abduction. The police also decided to check the Inman family's cell phones, which revealed that the family had not left Logan that night. Police soon received additional information that at 7:30 a.m. the morning of Summer's disappearance, the white Ford had stopped by a car wash where all 3 of them, Bill, Sandra, and Will, were dry cleaning the interior. The whole family was detained and taken in for questioning. Bill, who was already being led away under the arms of the police, shouted to his elderly mother that they were not guilty of anything, that it was the work of the devil against whom he and his parishioners were fighting. At the police station, the Inmans, as if bewitched, repeated the same thing, and only when it became clear that they had no alibi and they were facing execution, Sandra took the blame. From Sandra Inman's testimony, kidnapping Summer was my idea. It was my idea, and I was driving the white Ford that night. Of course, neither of us planned to kill Summer. I swear it was an accident. On the night of March 22nd, we drove up to the bank where Summer worked and waited a long time for her to finally finish her shift. At about 11 p.m., we saw her near the garbage cans near the bank. I drove up to her and my husband Bill and son Will, who hid their faces under black masks, pushed Summer into the car. Again, we had no intention of killing her. The only thing we wanted was for her to let us see the kids since we are family. Will, in an act of intimidation, tied Summer's hands and feet with plastic ties to keep her from running away. Apparently, one of the ties he tightened around her neck. He overestimated his strength, and Summer began to choke, and her face began to turn red. Will wanted to cut the tie, but he couldn't find a knife, and the knife we were taking with us had gotten under my seat, and when he did find it, it was too late. Summer was dead. Sandra Inman showed the place where they hid Summer's body. It was an old well near the Tabernacle of Faith Church. Yes, the same church where Bill and Sandra had first met, and then Will and Summer, the church where both had gotten married and where they'd gone to pray and confess for years. The autopsy confirmed Sandra's words. Summer had indeed died of asphyxiation. No other injuries were found on her body. In 2012, the court sentenced Bill Inman and Will Inman to life in prison, and Sandra Inman, despite taking all the blame, also received a life sentence, but the court allowed her to request parole after 15 years. Why is that? Apparently because, according to relatives, the women in the Inman family never decided anything. The whole family obediently obeyed only Bill, and if it was someone's cruel plan to regain custody of the children, it was his. And Sandra took the blame to save her husband and son, but she never succeeded. On June 8, 2018, fishermen aboard a commercial vessel near the Long Island Strait noticed something unusual in the water. Closer inspection from the deck revealed it to be a man's body. The fishermen immediately reported their discovery to the Coast Guard. Police arriving at the scene retrieved the body of a young man from the shore. They noted unexplained bruises and abrasions on the body. It was later identified as Spencer Mackford, who had been reported missing a few days earlier along with his girlfriend, Sophia McKenna. To determine the circumstances of Spencer's demise, his body was sent for examination. The autopsy results indicated that drowning was the cause of death. Experts found no signs of violence, and all injuries were attributed to water. It's important to note that the details of the autopsy were not disclosed. The same weekend Spencer and his girlfriend disappeared, 2 other men also went missing in the area. Their bodies were later found, having drowned as well. From the outset, the police believed these were tragic accidents due to unfavorable circumstances, leading to the young individuals drowning. No other theories about the incident were considered at the time. However, the body of Spencer's companion, Sophia McKenna, was never found. This enigmatic tale unfolded on the night of May 27, 2018, in the small town of Groton, located in Connecticut, in the northeastern United States. The case remains unsolved, raising more questions than answers. The main characters of the story are 2 young people who decided to take a walk and visit the lighthouse in New London, situated on the banks of the Thames River and considered a mystical place by the locals. The historic lighthouse, constructed in 1909, is famous for rumors about mysterious phenomena associated with the ghost of its first keeper, Ernie. According to legend, Ernie's beloved left him, and in despair, he ended his life by jumping from the lighthouse's roof. Since then, locals and visitors have reported strange occurrences at the lighthouse. Some speak of unexplained phenomena, such as doors and windows opening by themselves, while others mention bedsheets slipping off beds. Sailors have told of radios turning on without apparent reason and ships mysteriously unmooring from the shore. Consequently, the lighthouse has become the focus of numerous television programs dedicated to paranormal phenomena. Although these claims are merely rumors, the place continues to attract people with its mysterious and unusual aura. Spencer and Sophia were among those who had long dreamed of visiting this enigmatic lighthouse and set out there on the eve of Memorial Day. However, something went awry that night. What exactly happened remains unknown. Family members and the police can only speculate based on the few available facts. On Saturday, the 27th, Sophia McKenn's friend Austin tried to contact her, but got no response to his calls. At first, he didn't think much of it, knowing that Sophia usually slept late. However, after several hours of unsuccessful attempts to reach her through calls and messages, Austin grew worried. He contacted Sophia's mother, Michelle, to find out if Sophia had called her the previous night. Michelle hadn't checked her cell phone, as her younger daughter had been playing with it since morning. When Michelle finally looked at her phone, she found 7 missed calls from an unknown number. Trying to call back, she reached the voicemail of Spencer, a friend of her daughter's, and realized those might have been calls from Sophia. Michelle tried to reach Sophia but also got no response. Panic set in, and she and Austin immediately began searching. Austin called all the local hospitals, while Michelle filed a missing persons report with the police. Contacting Spencer's family, they learned that his relatives were also worried since he hadn't shown up for an important family gathering and hadn't responded to their attempts to contact him. They went to Spencer's apartment but found no signs of his presence there the previous night. Spencer's father knew his son had been meeting with Sophia the evening before, which caused concern for him and his wife due to the problem Sophia was facing. Spencer's mother mentioned that her son had planned to go fishing with a friend, but she felt he was lying and actually intended to meet Sophia that evening. She last spoke with her son at 10 p.m. when he wished her goodnight. Realizing something had happened, Spencer's family also reported his and his girlfriend's disappearance to the police. Around 6:30 p.m., the police began searching for the missing young people. At that time, Austin contacted the sheriff to inform him that he had information about where Sophia and Spencer were the previous night. He explained that he knew this because he had allowed Sophia to go there. Austin also mentioned that he stumbled upon a video posted by Sophia on Snapchat the previous night. Sophia had recorded the video on Spencer's mobile phone while they were on a boat heading towards the lighthouse. The footage showed the back of a young man rowing towards the lighthouse. Everything looked good, and they were having fun. Later, Sophia uploaded this video to her Snapchat account. Later, at 2 a.m., a photograph of Sophia was uploaded to Spencer's chat. She was playfully posing with the concrete barrier of the lighthouse in the background, marked with a "Do Not Cross" sign. What happened just minutes after this photograph remains a complete mystery. 5 minutes after the photograph was posted, at 2:05 a.m., the first call from Spencer's mobile phone was made to Michelle, Sophia's mother, followed by 3 more calls at 2:06, 2:08, and the last call at 2:09. Michelle, who was asleep at the time, didn't answer any of the calls. No voicemails or text messages were left, and the 911 service also didn't receive any calls from that number that night. The photos and videos posted by the young people confirmed that they were indeed at the lighthouse. As a result, the police immediately dispatched 20 different Coast Guard units to the area. The Coast Guard, firefighters, and police conducted searches by air, sea, and land. The first discovery made by the police was Sophia's car, parked on the university campus. Inside the car, they also found her cell phone. Meanwhile, on the same night, the Coast Guard discovered a T-shirt which Spencer had been wearing in the video. The police theorized that Spencer might have used it to secure the boat to the shore. The search continued throughout the night and the following day. Soon, a storm began, and state authorities announced the suspension of the search for the young people until new leads or signs of their possible whereabouts emerged. This decision deeply shocked their families and friends, but they continued their own search efforts, hanging pictures and spreading information about Spencer and Sophia's disappearance throughout the city. They appealed to the public to report any available information. However, despite the large number of people on the streets at the time of the young people's disappearance, no witnesses came forward. The family's searches continued for several days, but all questions remained unanswered. What happened? Why did Sophia repeatedly call her mother? Why didn't she leave a voicemail or call the police? There were many speculations and assumptions. Could they have consumed something illicit? Indeed, they had broken the law by stealing a boat from the campus and heading to the lighthouse without permission. It's likely Sophia feared they could be held accountable, and thus chose not to contact the police, as a few days prior, she and Spencer had already had legal issues. Spencer had been detained for driving under the influence, and Sophia had faced charges for aggressive behavior. Perhaps for this reason,
she preferred to contact her mother rather than the police. However, it's unknown what other circumstances were present in Sophia's life at that moment. She might have been in a state of panic and unable to think clearly. Everyone's reaction to such situations can be unpredictable. Meanwhile, detectives tried to reconstruct the events of that day. May 26, 2018, began as a typical day. It was sunny and warm, with the upcoming weekend promising plenty of fun. The city was gearing up for Memorial Day celebrations, a national holiday. Sophia had the day off, but Spencer was scheduled to cover a shift for a colleague from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Afterwards, the young couple planned to meet up and join the city's festivities. Sophia and Spencer intended to spend the rest of the day together, including a visit to the mysterious lighthouse, famous for its paranormal phenomena, which they were eager to experience for themselves.
The details of what happened after Spencer's shift ended remain unknown. It's unclear where they went or if they met anyone, and there's no information about whether they had been drinking. However, it was established that Sophia parked her car at the University of Connecticut campus around 2 a.m. For some reason, she left her cell phone in the car. Perhaps she forgot it, or it was out of charge, and she decided not to take it. The pair then illegally took a sailboat without a mast or engine, weighing 14 pounds and equipped only with oars. They pushed it into the water and set off towards the lighthouse, navigating by the rocky shores. Clearly it was unsafe, considering the lack of safety equipment in the boat. Likely they were not afraid to embark on this journey due to Spencer's confidence in his aquatic skills. He had been a proficient swimmer and boat handler since childhood. That's all the investigators managed to gather about the events of that night. On Monday evening, while scanning the surroundings from a search helicopter, the police discovered a white and blue sailboat stuck in the rocks, covered with a layer of dust. The vessel was located 12 kilometers west of the lighthouse. According to police reports, this was likely the same boat that went missing from the campus and might have been used by Spencer and Sophia, although this was not conclusively established. Fingerprints were found on the boat, but they were never analyzed or the results made public to determine if they matched the fingerprints of the young couple. There were also discrepancies regarding the type of vessel used. Initially, it was reported as a kayak, but later information suggested it was a white sailboat with a red inscription. In their search for clues, investigators thoroughly examined the backgrounds of Sophia McKenna and Spencer Mugford. Sophia McKenna was born on March 7, 1996, in North Stonington, Connecticut. At the time of the incident, she was 21 years old and lived in Groton, Connecticut, USA. She was the daughter of Michelle from her first marriage and grew up with her brother Justin and younger sister Grace. Sophia was very caring towards her siblings, whom she dearly loved. As a child, Sophia was happy and intelligent, displaying unique qualities. She was active, full of energy, and always led a vibrant and fulfilling life. However, her life was deeply impacted by her parents' divorce when she was around 7 years old, leaving a profound psychological scar. During her high school years, Sophia was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which caused her depression. This mental illness is characterized by drastic mood swings, including manic episodes or hypomania. Sophia experienced emotional lows, such as depression with sadness and melancholy, alternating with manic episodes of euphoria. These mood swings could affect her behavior and clarity of thought. Sophia received treatment, including medication and psychotherapy to manage symptoms. However, there is no cure for bipolar disorder. It presents a challenge for both the patient and their family. The illness significantly impacted Sophia's daily life. Her behavior became unpredictable and her life was chaotic. She had unstable relationships, and the people she interacted with often displayed complex behavior. In 2015, Sophia met Austin. Bright and cheerful, she immediately captured the young man's heart. He pursued the attractive Sophia beautifully and persistently, and they soon started a relationship that lasted 3 years. However, this relationship was rather unpleasant for both Sophia and her mother, Michelle. Austin was a problematic young man, somewhat aggressive, and used anabolic steroids for sports, making their relationship quite unstable. The young couple often argued and yelled at each other, even to the point of physical altercations. Due to her mental health issues, Sophia was typically the instigator of these conflicts. On several occasions, Austin's aggressive outbursts led to injuries to Sophia, requiring hospital visits. About a month before the incident, Sophia discovered Austin's infidelity and decided to end the relationship. However, they continued to see each other sporadically. Despite her struggles, Sophia tried to move forward. She was a very attractive young woman and briefly became a model for a local company, advertising their jeans. This helped her finance her education. She eventually graduated as a massage therapist and found employment at an exclusive spa called the Red Door in a luxurious hotel. It was here that she met Spencer Mugford, her 20-year-old colleague. Spencer, originally from Florida, was a sea enthusiast and an experienced swimmer working as a sailing instructor. He came from a loving family who had high hopes for his future. Spencer and Sophia quickly bonded over shared interests and similar wavelengths. They reportedly dated for some time, but neither of their families approved, as the young couple was frequently surrounded by trouble. According to Michelle, Sophia's mother, she was deeply concerned about Sophia's well-being, especially since Sophia and Austin continued to meet and often consumed alcohol, which had become almost a daily occurrence. Ultimately, Sophia's relationship with Spencer did not last, and they decided to remain friends. The exact reason for this remains unclear, though it appears Sophia might have returned to her ex-boyfriend, Austin. Despite this, Sophia and Spencer continued to spend a lot of time together, both at work and outside of it, including on their last day. After several days of searching, when fishermen discovered Spencer's body, his family wrote an obituary in the local media. Sophia's family did the same, but they continued to hold out hope and kept searching. They repeatedly tried to recall the events leading up to the disappearance, attempting to figure out what the young people did that evening and whether they met anyone on their last day. However, no new information emerged. It was unclear if there were any other calls besides the ones to Michelle's number from Spencer's phone, as his mobile was never found, and the police did not provide cell operator records. Cameras at the lighthouse and the campus were reportedly not working, so there were no video recordings of that night's events. It was also revealed that the lighthouse was never checked, even though it should have been done by the authorities immediately after the couple's disappearance. In July 2018, Sophia McKenna's close relatives created a Facebook page titled "Searching for Sophia McKenna" to keep the case alive in public memory. The page served as a platform for sharing information, brochures, and pleas for any information from the public. Weeks after the disappearance, a strange incident occurred. Michelle received a message from Sophia's social media account requesting money. Since the police were in possession of Sophia's phone, this message raised suspicions, suggesting a possible hacker's involvement. The investigation into Spencer's death and Sophia's disappearance hit a dead end. The police provided no conclusive findings. Unofficially, several theories about the incident circulated. One theory involved Austin, Sophia's ex-boyfriend, and his possible involvement in the young couple's disappearance. Some speculated that Austin might have attacked Sophia, and his friends helped him dispose of Spencer. Their tumultuous relationship, known for frequent arguments and physical altercations, was a matter of public discussion. Michelle, Sophia's mother, witnessed several of their disputes. A month before the disappearance, serious issues arose when Sophia learned of Austin's infidelity on May 8, 2018, and ended the relationship. In what could have been an act of revenge or a new start, Sophia dated another guy, bringing him to her apartment. Austin, infuriated, rushed to her apartment, where neighbors witnessed him furiously banging and kicking the door, hurling insults at Sophia. After about 15 minutes of silence, thinking Austin had left, Sophia opened the door. However, Austin was still there, attempting to push Sophia and enter the apartment. Fortunately, Sophia managed to close the door quickly. Neighbors heard his threats to cut her throat if she didn't open the door. By then, police and Michelle had arrived, and Austin was arrested. The next day, May 9th, a court order became effective. In her statement, Sophia mentioned previous attacks by Austin and provided photos of her injuries. She expressed fear for her life due to his stalking. A restraining order prohibited Austin from being in the same area as Sophia. However, Sophia later felt guilty, and the restrictions were revised. Now,
Austin was only prohibited from being in the same apartment as her. The man with Sophia at the time refused to disclose his identity and did not cooperate with the police. Initially, Michelle claimed it was Spencer with Sophia, but later changed her statement. However, a colleague Sophia trusted revealed that it was indeed him. Sophia and Spencer's colleagues confirmed that the two were in a relationship at the time of their disappearance, acting like a couple both at work and outside. Witnesses also recounted an incident at the hotel where Austin, Sophia's ex, showed up at her workplace and publicly threatened her. Nevertheless, Austin and his father participated in the search for the missing couple using a private helicopter and distributed flyers with their images throughout the city. Austin posted on social media, asserting that Sophia was his girlfriend for 3 years and that she had no romantic relationship with Spencer, just friendship. This post, seemingly emphasizing Sophia's association with him rather than her disappearance, appeared odd to many. On July 10th, a memorial day for Sophia was organized by her family and friends. Austin attended the event with Michelle and later posted a now-deleted message on social media. "Rest in peace, baby. We'll see each other soon." These actions raised eyebrows among acquaintances. Austin claimed to authorities that he spent the entire day with Sophia on May 26th and that they continued to meet despite the court order, even making plans for the next day. A friend of Austin stated that around 3 a.m. on the night of the incident, Austin texted Sophia claiming to be at the gym with a friend. However, this was doubtful as gyms are closed at that hour. His family maintained he was home before heading to the gym. An undisclosed witness reported that Austin and his brother were invited to a party that day. Austin initially intended to go, but later messaged saying he was tired and wouldn't attend. This raises questions about Austin's whereabouts when Sophia and Spencer disappeared, with no clear answers available. Austin's acquaintances describe him as temperamental, possibly exacerbated by steroid use. There were rumors of Austin, his brother, and a friend having connections with the Groton police. Also, a woman from Austin's family was allegedly married to the police chief, who was investigating Sophia's case and had complaints of police violence against him. However, the reliability of these claims, provided by Austin's friend with a criminal past, is questionable. The day after a YouTube channel dedicated to Long Island disappearances posted a video about Sophia, Austin removed all photos of them together from his social media. This action caused confusion, especially since Sophia's fate was still uncertain. One theory is that Austin had found a new girlfriend and wanted to avoid complications. However, the complete removal of all photos with Sophia seemed unusual. Furthermore, just days after Sophia's disappearance, Austin's involvement in the search noticeably waned. When he met with investigators, he appeared calm and composed, not visibly distressed by the loss of someone close. However, this is insufficient for any accusations against Austin. People react differently to stress. One theory suggests Sophia was killed to prevent her from testifying against Austin in a domestic violence case. Without her testimony, there wouldn't have been enough evidence, and the case could have been dismissed. This is exactly what happened in the summer of 2018 when the case against Austin was dropped. It's important to note that Austin is not officially a suspect. This theory remains speculative, and the investigation continues. Another version speculates that Sophia and Spencer may have encountered dangerous individuals at the lighthouse. It was a busy day due to the holiday, but witnesses either didn't remember them or didn't find the information significant as no one reported to the police. Sophia's mother theorized her daughter might have been kidnapped or fallen victim to human trafficking, but there's no evidence or ransom demands to support this. The police also considered the possibility of an accident due to reckless actions and decisions. The young couple set out in an unprepared boat without life jackets into strong currents. Once at the lighthouse, they moored the boat with Spencer's t-shirt. They took photos and then realized the boat had drifted away. Relying on his swimming experience, Spencer may have underestimated the water's low temperature. The darkness, which often distorts distance perception, could have made him think the boat was closer. Physically tired from his workday and the swim to the lighthouse, Spencer might have drowned. Realizing she couldn't see or hear Spencer, Sophia tried calling her mother for help. In desperation, she might have jumped in to assist Spencer and drowned as well. Sophia wasn't a strong swimmer, making it unlikely she'd jump into such conditions. However, under the influence of alcohol, she might have made an irrational decision. It's also possible she was walking on the lighthouse's narrow ledge, trying to spot Spencer, stumbled and fell with her phone, then got swept away by the current and drowned. These theories remain relevant, though others exist too. None is the official version, and they lack suspects or culprits, circulating mainly on social media. Sophia's family and friends continue to search for her, desperate to uncover what happened and where she is. In 2019, an independent detective found several bones near the shore and immediately reported it to the police. However, the investigators who arrived at the scene deemed the bones to be of animal origin. The remains were never collected, and due to the high cost, no forensic examination was conducted to determine if they were human. There are many aspects of this case that raise suspicions and warrant a thorough investigation. After all, this is about a missing person with a family in anguish, seeking answers. Sophia undoubtedly deserves continued search efforts. Numerous bodies of other missing individuals have been discovered in these waters, but not Sophia's. No new information has surfaced in her case, and the mystery of what happened that night at the lighthouse remains unsolved.